We talk a lot about purification on this path, and especially I hear you talk about it as one of the benefits or events that happen with this practice. But and I'll speak to my own experience, but purification isn't always pretty, and sometimes you can be blindsided with lots of emotion or disconcerting internal talk, or could you just speak to this process of working with purification and or how it can arise? What are the different forms of purification that we could experience, and in terms of working with that as its own phenomenon? Sometimes people confuse the purification and might think that's a new problem.
When one practices, as time goes on, one develops a kind of sensitivity to something that I call purification. In fact, I would say that one of the major watersheds in a person's practice is when they start to develop the taste of purification, where they can actually sense that purification has happened. So what do we mean by purification? It's a perception that because of the way that I'm experiencing this moment with high concentration, sensory clarity, and especially equanimity, because of the way I'm experiencing this moment, things that have been getting in the way from the past are getting worked through. And you actually sense that that is happening. Now, how do you sense that? That's hard to put into words. You just develop it's like wine tasting. Wine tasters can detect all sorts of subtleties in flavor, bouquet, finish, tannins, what have you. They just developed a palate to detect stuff that the average person doesn't detect. At some point, every meditator who stays with the process develops this sense that because of how I'm experiencing the present, the past is being worked through. Like I say, I can't put into words how you know it's happening, but you just do. You also know that because of that, every moment in the future is going to be better for you. So that's a huge watershed in practice, because before that happens, your preoccupation with regards to meditation is to have certain experiences while you meditate. You want to be concentrated, you want to be calm, you want to have altered states, you want to have whatever you want to have, okay? Feel good, have something interesting and entertaining or unusual happen. When people start their practice, that's how they evaluate their practice. It's like, something good or interesting or unusual happened, and so that was a good meditation. At some point, if you stay with it, you develop this sensitivity for the purification. And then your motivations shift. You're not interested in getting to any particular state. You're interested in setting the stage for nature to optimize purification. You sort of set the stage and let time pass, and the purification is taking place, and you can taste it. And because you can taste it, you don't mind if you're in a lot of pain in your body. You don't mind if there's a lot of emotions in your body. You don't mind if there's a lot of confusion in your mind. Because although by all ordinary ways of thinking, pain in the body, uncomfortable emotions in the body, confusion in the mind, that's like the last thing in the world anybody would ever want. But if you can taste the purification while that's going on, so you know the past is getting worked through, and the future, every moment of the future will be better for me because of how I'm experiencing this present moment, uncomfortable though it is. Once that taste of purification kicks in, then you start to grow exponentially. The rate of growth takes off in a hockey stick mode.
Because there's a way you're saying taste of purification that's making it sound like, I'm developing a taste. When someone's drinking wine, they know they're drinking wine. But to know the interpretation of if that is purification, if it isn't purification, and or my relationship to that is that you said, I don't mind if I'm in pain. I don't mind. When you say develop a taste, do you mean where that starts to become a pleasant experience?
I would say that whenever a person in the present moment brings a quality of concentration, clarity, and equanimity to their experience, or even one or two of those, at any level whatsoever, purification is happening, whether they're aware of it or not. Whether they're aware of it or not, it is happening. But after long practice, you know it's happening. But I cannot describe to you how you know. It's another dimension of experience. You sense it.
Does knowing help the process?
The knowing is what makes the process snowball. That's what gives the exponential growth. Okay. Because the fact, in other words, you're getting a reward. I wouldn't exactly say the reward is pleasure. Okay.
Okay.
It's another kind of reward. Although you will typically react with pleasure when you taste purification, the taste itself is not the taste of pleasure. It's its own dimension. It's just one of those things you have to experience by practicing. But once that happens, then no matter how horrific an experience may be, you're getting rewarded in that experience. Not necessarily rewarded by pleasure, but rewarded by this something else, this taste of purification. So that the more you taste it, the more you're willing to have equanimity. The more you're willing to have equanimity, the more you taste it. That's called a positive feedback loop, and your practice just goes off on a hockey stick curve. Before that, it tends to be linear and rather subtle. Once the taste of purification develops, you've got this positive feedback loop, and it just goes. And that's how you make that journey of a million miles in just a few years. You only walked 1 mile, 10 miles in the first year, but what you don't realize is the longer you walk, the faster you walk. And the taste of purification is the main thing that makes that happen.